Okay, there should be sound. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me, and I hope you can see me. I'm behind a lighthouse. Hello, and welcome to this 33rd 52 Miniatures live stream. It's a Sunday. It's 3 p.m. in Sweden, and I'm looking very orange, which is cool. Am I very orange? Yeah, it's a thing. And there's a microphone over here. I thought I'd hidden that really well, but it must be slowly diving down. Can everyone hear me and see me? Devs and Dice, Leif, how are you doing? I messaged Leif the other day because he's got some very nice sort of miniatures at display at Alpha Spel, which is our local friendly game store. And he had this really fancy, like, I've got some as well, and it just says like some 52 miniatures dude painted these things. And he had like this really nice plaque next to his with like a QR code, so you can take a picture of it and press it, and you end up on his YouTube. And I was like, way to go, Leif. Anyway, Lise Sweeney, how are you doing? And Adrian, good to see you. Michael, George, Johan Bergman, Bea, and yeah. Lots of lovely people. How are you all doing? I'm a bit, it's a bit of a sort of Sunday vibe in my brain. Also kind of overwhelmed by all the, like, have you seen all this stuff I use? And it's all just, that's my water, by the way. Yeah. For some reason, I started building a 6x4 foot gaming table. And for some reason, I haven't finished it. And so here we are again. This is a hill. It's, well, it's meant to be a hill. It's not a hill yet. Right now, it's just a blob of XPS foam. But it will be transformed into a hill with a lighthouse on it, because it's what you need for your wargaming table. It's not a wargaming table without a lighthouse, I believe. And then there's going to be another hill over here with an old ruined asylum on it, I think, or a prison, something of that kind of a vibe. It was supposed to be a ship, but as you can see, it's not a ship anymore. It's a lighthouse with a ruined asylum attached to it. How is everyone doing? And what is everyone working on? Is it just me with the crazy projects? I don't know. Hello, Conto. And I should get my glasses. It's like there's nicknames over there. I can't really see them. Especially when they're written in acrylic letters. Everyone can see me and hear me. That's a good thing, at least. Adrian says he's cut out over 100 of paper minis in the last few days. I think you shared some images of that, didn't you, Adrian? Adrian is a good and kind patron of mine. The last few days, but my stool was the wrong height. Sorry, I thought about the wrong kind of stool there, and I was wondering where this message was heading. So now my back is screwed. Yeah. I live in a world of bad backs. It's like I edit videos like this. This is the keyboard. This is the thing. I also take pictures, which is this, and I also paint miniatures, which is this. And so in the end, it's like cheese doodle vibe. George is painting an orc with a flamer by Skulltown Minis. Don't know about them. Is that like something you printed, or do they make physical miniatures? Jamie Mayer says, "Good afternoon, all. Press like or Games Workshop kills another one of your favorite favorite game legacies, your favorite faction." Indeed. Follow Jamie's advice, or your favorite game will get screwed over by Games Workshop. Okay, I'm going to try and read that nickname. It's over there somewhere. I should get glasses. Faruthon says, "Making a gaming table for Helm's Deep, even bigger than 6 by 4 foot with a friend. I think I know your pains." Yeah, good luck with that. Why on earth would you do a thing like that? Have you been watching that madman that moved to New Zealand or something? Hello, Blue. Hope you're doing well. Kavok asks if is there a brace you can get for your back? Maybe, or I could probably just get up every now and again and like stretch and not sit for 6 hours straight, you know. But yeah, Beer's working on a mini for Phil after I've sent out another one. Okay, yeah, we've had this challenge over at the 52 Minutes Discord Patreon thing. If you become a patron, you get invited to a Discord that I claim that I'm I hang out there a lot, which I kind of do, but that just means reading all the things. Anyway, it's a great place. Lots of great people. You should become a patron and just, be amazed by how great the Discord is. Anyway, we've had a challenge which was divided into several parts. It was sort of like, paint a mini for someone else on the Discord. But it was also paint a mini for Phil, because Phil is another patron that hangs out, and he's a great guy. And it just kind of happened. And he hates elves. And so everyone started painting elves for Phil, and are sending them to him, which is great. And to remind me, it's now the 1st of September, and we need another challenge for the Patreon. So any suggestions, please send them by, I don't know, some kind of message in a bottle. Leif from Devs and Dice asks, "Alex, which game era is the board going to be?" Okay, so it's, in theory, it's a weird World War One gaming table. Sort of. So and I guess if we have a look, you can probably see them. There's some trenches over here, and there's some trenches over there, and there's lots of, you can't really see them. This is, there's a bunker over there. There's a bunker over here that the computer is standing on. And this is half of the board, and so the other half of the board is over there with a lot more trenches on it. So that side has a big hill with a cliff and a waterfall and lots of trenches. And this one doesn't have as many trenches, but it's got some bunkers. And originally the idea was for a game that's called War Transformed, which is alternative First World War, but weird things happen, and the face of the earth kind of changes, and it sort of plays out on something that's called the Doggerland Front, which is actually sort of, the Doggerland exists. It's kind of like, between Denmark and the UK, sort of out in the water. But there's, in this game, all the water's disappeared, and the fronts of the First World War have sort of expanded out into this sort of ocean floor. So the whole point of this table was that it was supposed to be an old ocean floor kind of a setting. There's like a cliffy shoreline, and then the bottom of the sea. And so I had this idea of like shipwrecks and stuff. But building shipwrecks from scratch, if like a credible sort of, First World War, maybe a bit before that, kind of a style. That's a lot of work building ships like that. It's not just like I'm gonna have some old timbers and stuff. And there's nothing really to 3D print because no one models ships from then. And why would you? There's plenty of ships for like war games you play ships with, but they're like this size, and so if you'd scale that up to something like this, it just looks bad. So I abandoned the idea of building a shipwreck themed thing, and instead I'm going for a hill with a lighthouse, and for some reason an asylum or an old prison, but like a blown out building, essentially, sort of late Victorian-ish kind of a style, I think. But obviously any sci-fi game could be played on it, really, and 40K definitely, if one does that kind of stuff. I don't know who does that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty stupid idea, building like a scenic wargaming table, because it's like a set thing. I can't move anything around. Everything's just stuck. And it's just like building a really huge diorama that takes ages to build. I know Leif builds a lot of Mordheim. If anyone hasn't checked out Devs and Dice, by the way, please go check out his channel. Builds a lot of houses for Mordheim, which is really smart because you can sort of build a house and move the house. Have different kind of houses and build different, things. This is like, that's going to be stuck there. Yeah. Anyway, but I've committed to the whole thing, so need to finish. Bia said, no, Blue Fangs says, don't forget to like the video so it can reach more people. This is true. Please press like. There's only 38 of you. Where is everybody? Yeah, please press the like button. I've been getting a lot of messages lately. YouTube is weird. Sort of a standard sort of message nowadays is like, oh, I thought you weren't making videos anymore. I'm subscribed, but your videos are not showing up on my home screen on YouTube. Because YouTube apparently nowadays doesn't really give a darn about if you're subscribed or not. They're just like, no, he's probably not. He's probably not going to like this video. We'll just not show it. And so when you're a creator like me and you make lots of videos and you try really hard to get people to like subscribe so that they can see that you release new videos, it's strange when the platform chooses to just ignore that kind of rules and just assume that, no, there's not that many people watching this video, so we'll just not show anyone else that it exists. And live streams, they function the same way. If you don't press like, and then it'll disappear in the ether. Okay. Hello, Victor Riviera. Adrian says, yeah, more moving and sensible sitting positions. Exactly. Just getting up every now and again is really smart. Rido says, I think I've seen you sometimes at my workplace, and I really like your minis at Alpha Spill. Is your workplace Alpha Spill? Or why have I been hanging around your workplace? Where do you work? If I mean, you don't have to share. I'm just curious. If I've been stalking you at your workplace, I should know. Adrian says, it's a lovely Discord. It sure is. And Michael also says it's a nice Discord. Everyone says it's a nice Discord. Leif says that weird World War I sounds cool. It is very cool. The only downside is then I also have to because I just got really interested in this game, and then I decided if I build a table that'll force me to play the game. So the problem is I need to finish the table first. The second problem is that it's like a army game and no one else plays it. So I need to like build and paint 2 weird World War One armies, and then I can play the game. But thank you for the offer of help, Leif. I haven't decided. I probably might take you up, honestly, on the painting bit, but also I haven't decided if I'm going down the sort of route of flock and flocking, and I believe you're one of the people around that has one of those fancy static flock machine things. So I might scream for help. And you can always just call me, Leif. You have my number. And we can talk abandoned ships. Dylan says, I'd imagine a goo of sail wrecks would be maybe suitable ruin so it doesn't take up too much space. Yeah, I mean, the other side of the table has, I 3D printed out like a old, it's like the hull, it's just a small one like this. So, it looks like there's a ship sticking out of the mud. But I don't know, I also kind of felt a little bit like, okay, maybe I shouldn't take the ship. The idea here as well with this side was that it was going to be modular. So like, I don't know if you can see it. You can see I've underneath here, this is where the ship should have been. It continues back underneath here. And the ship was going to be modular. So I could take it off and put it back on. And then this could just be completely flat. And I could also have like, if I wanted, I could put MDF buildings here or, anything. But this little section of the board was going to be essentially flat and I could put things on, change them out. But then I realized, well, the rest of the board is still exactly everything is locked in. And so I might as well lock in this side as well and like just live with the fact that this is the way this table looks and build hills because hills are cool. The only thing I'm going to do is actually that this lighthouse is not, I'm going to magnetize it, I think, so that it comes off if I want to. For one thing, it'll be more practical when trying to move this or store it, but also it's a very sort of it's a sort of a strong sort of nautical symbol. And if I don't really want that vibe, then being able to remove the lighthouse is a nice idea. Adrian says, I guess all the shipwrecks were salvaged to make trench sides. Bang on the money, Adrian. Exactly. Dylan says, the Devs and Dice Mordheim stuff is top tier. Perfect stuff for Frostgrave games with friends. Yes. Tina Martin says, if you need help to finish the table, let me know. Sure, Tina. If you let me know, were you around here or what? I'm. Oh, wait. From Germany. Yes, I'm sorry. There's so many nicknames and names I get, and it's a Sunday. I mean, the table isn't that big. It doesn't stretch all the way to Germany. But I'd love help, Tina. I get confused because I don't think I've seen your last name before. If you are the Tina, I'm thinking you are the Tina. Are you the Tina? You are Tina, right? I'm sorry for this lapse of a slight mental breakdown. If you are the Tina, or even if you're not the Tina, everyone should check out Tina's channel. what's the name of your channel, Tina? Because it's not. I need to have a look. Let's see. Maybe if this is another Tina, it'd be really fun. But it doesn't matter. Fielding, isn't it? That's another Tina. I can't find you. Where are you? Help. Okay. Moving on. Martin. I'm jumping. But Martin says, buy 52 miniatures merch. Exactly. I've actually prepared because no one buys my merch. And so, I thought I'd show you some of my... No. See? Wow. Isn't that stunning? There's also... I mean, come on. Buy it. I'm also working on... I've got stickers and stuff, but I've ordered envelopes, and they sent it to an address I lived at 3 years back, and don't want to give me my money back and stuff. But yeah, I'm also looking at making some dice and stuff. But go check out the merch section on the website, which is 52miniatures.com. See, you're very confused. You're confusing me, Tina. You're even from the same country as the other Tina that I met. And I was on the same panel as Tina Fielding. But this is Tina, another Tina. So you're both called Tina and you're both from Belgium. But you're a silent crafter instead of a YouTube crafter. You're welcome to help me with the table anyway. It's not that I only hang out with YouTubers. I actually hung out with shortly with a patron in Gothenburg on Friday, which was a very embarrassing situation. Not hanging out with a patron. His name's Frederick. It was a really nice time. But I was there to do some other work, and then because I work as a photographer. And then in the evening, a client calls up and is like, "Hi," she was like, "Hey, I'm waiting for you. Where are you?" Which was for that other assignment in Stockholm that I'd written into my diary on the wrong date. And I was in Gothenburg doing another assignment, which was really, really embarrassing. And I hope they will speak to me again. But meeting a patron was great. This is a confusing live stream, right? And we're supposed to be talking about terrain, but we're not really. Kavak says, so an idea I have had for a table is to cut it into equal parts, say a 6x4 foot table into 6 parts, and then make many bits and then embrace each bit being what it is. That way you can have perm and mod. Perm and mod, like a permanent thing, and you can move it around, or what? I was a bit confused there. I mean, I think my idea, like the only reason to make a scenic 6x4 foot table is to go all in and build a scenic 6x4 foot table. In my eye, or you have like something that's just flat and you can put different like the classic way of playing tabletop war games is you have terrain that you put on a flat surface, because that means every time you play a game you can play with a different scenic layout, which is probably the optimal way to play tabletop games. But I love building dioramas, and for some reason I wanted to build one that is 6x4 foot. and any hobby mission is a great thing. So even if it's not the efficient, a lot of people in this. Okay, here comes a one of those moments. A lot of people discuss efficiency and stuff. Like when it comes to painting, that you should paint either fast or good or with a purpose. You should be learning, you should be getting better. This is how to win a trophy. This is, how to paint lots of miniatures fast. um It's the same thing with games that, oh, you should only play games that have not so many miniatures. Oh, you should only play games that have lots of miniatures. And there's so much um, opinion about specifics. When in the end, I think the most important thing is that we have a hobby. That's it. Because having a hobby is a great thing. And so building a 6x4 foot gaming table that is set in a very specific style that takes, in the end, I don't know, what will it take me? A year, 2 years to make it? Constantly nagging me. It's like one of those friends that you kind of forget while you hang out with them until you meet them. And then you're like, oh, I really like this person. That's what this table is. Um, but it's really fun to work on when I do it. And does it matter if it gets done? Probably not really. Obviously I want to get it done, but it doesn't actually even have to get done. It's just working on it is the good thing because that's the hobby. Okay. End of little rant or whatever that was. Yes, Phil, it's a man bun. How are you doing, Phil? It's a man bun because when it's not a man bun, it's uh, it's like a toupee on steroids. Devs and Dice says Tina Martins is really, really good with the XPS foam. Does everyone know Tina now? Who are you, Tina? You're gonna have to like email me or something now, Tina, because this is, yeah. The Fox Mask also want to create my own warboard. Will take inspiration from you, Alex. Yeah, just be careful of what you kind of inspiration. No, but I mean, if one is just wants to have a table to play games on that is really where you can play lots of different games and so like I've been trying to play some Infinity, which I think is really a lot of fun. But that game kind of needs obscure amounts of buildings and terrain, things to hide behind, because otherwise you just die. And so this table would virtually be impossible, not impossible, but it wouldn't be a very good table to play Infinity on because I more like terrain is needed, things to hide behind and stuff like that. And so obviously if I had lots and lots of scatter terrain, I could put that on this table, but the entire table is all wonky and stuff because it's scenic. And so like playing a game of Infinity, you probably would be better off having something that's just flat and you put lots of houses on it, you put lots of scatter terrain, you might have hills and stuff, but that are flat on top. You can put houses on that and build this thing. And the next game you play, you can change things around. And then when you want to play something that's not Infinity, you can just use half of the houses or whatever. Whereas with this, I'm kind of just stuck with one setting that might not be suitable for all games, which I don't mind. But yeah. It's a good thing to think about before you start, I think, is what are you going to use it for and how modular do you want it? And I think the more modular you make something, the more you'll be able to use it, probably. Especially if you're like 2 years later, you're like, no, wait, I like Lord of the Rings now. And then you've got like, okay, I've got trenches and First World War bunkers and shipwrecks. Wait a minute, where can I put the hobbits? Okay, where are we going? And where were we? Kavak says, like a puzzle. Yeah, I get you with the different bits. I think like building a table and you can, put different bits and it all sort of changes. I think my mind would not be able to create something like that because I'd need something that looks so that every piece would fit together well. And my whole idea with a table like this is you can have hills and streams and all these things, and it looks really, really nice. Whereas if you divide it into something like a puzzle, then you can't really have streams because the streams need to line up. If you have streams, then you can only line up the puzzle bits with streams on them next to each other, and then all of a sudden you're not modular anymore. Same goes for hills. Same goes for, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm saying why I didn't do something like that. Adrian says, whatever it is, do it faster, trademark. Yes. Mark from Montana, how are you doing? Good morning. I need coffee. Yes, I just had coffee. Now I'm having tea. And my mind is confused. What is it? What am I drinking? I hope you're doing well, Mark. And I hope, Phil, that you're doing well as well. Jon now wants to see a toupee on steroids. Jay Castle, how are you doing? Dylan says, I'm getting interested in Infinity. I accidentally bought some illegitimate recasts of Infinity models the other day. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, especially after being given the tip that a lot of terrain is needed. Because I made a video where I sort of painted some miniatures and tried out the game. And did I mention the merch, by the way? Look, wow. Oh, this one. No, wait, that was Scott's. Here we are. Wow. But then people who played Infinity saw that video, especially my friend Ryan, who makes MDF terrain called Brutal Cities. And he saw my layout because I was using his terrain, and he was like, you need 3 times the amount of terrain to have fun, kind of. His words and the way he likes to play. But then I started looking at, pictures from tournaments and people playing Infinity, and there's a lot of terrain going on. Usually buildings, stuff to hide behind. Which is kind of fun, because if you go play, visit your local friendly game store and you look at someone play Age of Sigmar or 40K, everyone hides behind something the first round, and then there's not really much going on terrain-wise. Yeah. There's your standard sort of L-shaped buildings here and there, but it's not that much of a focus. Which, you use a lot more models, so it's a pain in the butt to move a lot of models around when there's a lot of terrain. Whereas Infinity, you don't really use that many models, and so, yeah. Mark says, when did this kick off? It's just 6:30 here. I started about 30 minutes ago, Mark. So you're all good. Go get yourself a coffee. Tina says, I make a lot of stuff for Dungeons and Dragons Ghent in Belgium. Play it facts twice a year and at other conventions. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad we finally got introduced. Adrian says modular tables aren't any easier to plan if that makes you feel better. Yeah. But I mean, if you have a lot of houses and stuff and you just put them down, not really think much about it, then but having like modular tiles, yeah, that's a pain. Reading some comments here. Jake, I'm sorry to hear about your situation. I hope that works out, sincerely. The soothsayer says, question, you just got your first 3D printer. What's the first thing you print? A test print. That was a boring answer, wasn't it? I predominantly use my printer for printing bits and stuff. Bits for miniatures, for kit bashing, and bits for terrain. Like this stuff is 3D printed. These little tank traps are 3D printed. This is actually a bunker that I didn't 3D print, but you can't see it. There's a bunker underneath. It's like a 2-story bunker. The bottom one is 3D printed. So in my 3D printer over there, I've got just overnight printed a bunch of windows for the potential building that's going to be on here, stuff like that. I print miniatures as well, but usually it's like for bits or like heads, helmets, stuff like that. Or like recently, my most recent video on painting a red space marine in a Roman setting, I printed some Romans as part of the diorama. I've never printed, like, had the idea of wanting to print a full army or something like that. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. But if your question was like, what should I print? Then a test print. There's different ones. And Adrian seems to have been answering that. Great stuff. There's different types of like calibration prints where you can see if you've dialed in your settings correctly. They usually work really well. There's definitely videos on the subject, like how do I print calibration prints. But it's like the easiest way of knowing that your printer is okay set up is to print calibration things. The Fox Mask says, Alex, I'm looking forward to your future videos. Always very creative ideas. I appreciate it. Mark is painting new things, which is great, and I'm scrolling and I'm trying to figure out how far do I go. And my eyes are really playing tricks on me. I should have gotten my glasses, but I didn't. I realize I wanted to mention a few things, which is, where did I put it? Oh, yes, over here. I kind of want to make a video on this, but I don't know if I will have the time. Maybe I can make something really short. Friend of mine, you might recognize the logo. I don't know. It's a fish. It's Boyle Hobby Town. Is he's going to make a game which is going to be released on Kickstarter. It's not actually, the campaign isn't actually live on Kickstarter, but it exists, so you can visit Kickstarter if you're interested. I'm kind of interested because I know nothing. I just know he sent me some images, which I will show you. But I think I can probably show you the. Let's see. You should see this. Wild Imaginary West, which is, if you've been watching Boyle Hobby Town, you know he makes different sort of worlds, dioramas and stuff like that, which is a sort of imaginary Wild West. He's been doing that a lot. Now he's creating a game for that setting, an RPG. And it looks like you're out. Hunt monsters in the wild imaginary West. And he's sent me a few monsters, I believe, which is really cool. And I kind of want to paint them so that I can help him with the Kickstarter, but we'll see if we get it, if we can find the time. This is, can you see that over there? I don't know. It's like a bison man. Is that shows off a little bit better, doesn't it? I'm guessing this is a monster. There's also, this kind of looks like Bigfoot, maybe-ish. Don't know. These are pretty large, as you can see. Like, I haven't got a Space Marine. Have I got a Space Marine around? No, I don't. But a Space Marine would be up to about there. And there's also a really big rat, which is cool. So keep your eyes out, please, for when the Kickstarter launches, and see if it's something you're interested in. I also want to mention that my friend Dave from over from Canada, he sort of started as Dave from Mini Wargaming. He started his own sort of a new channel for videos that probably don't work out but well over on the Mini Wargaming side because they're too different, maybe. And he's released his first video over there. And so if you haven't checked it out, just check it out. See if you like it. If you don't, you don't. But if you do, that's great. Yeah, just want to mention that. I should put this so I don't sort of accidentally break it. So I built this. This is like going to be one part of a hill. I put so much stuff here, and the hill's going to sort of continue. You can see it from there, but with like a ravine kind of a thing in the middle. This is going to be higher. It's probably not going to be much higher than that, but there's going to be a building on it with cracked, broken walls. So in the end, they'll be pretty much the same height, most probably. This is just for movement wise, as well as you can probably see from there. There's a kind of steps up this hill. So there's going to be the lighthouse up there. You can reach it, or reach the top of this probably excellent sniping position by climbing up this way. There's also going to be a small bridge over to the house, or the ruin of the house that's going to be over here. So if you're on this side of the board, you can get into the building and either go out through the front, which will be over there somehow. This is still supposed to be sort of a cliff, because it's still supposed to have been a sea. So say water level would have been up to here somewhere. And so I need to make sure that this cliff still comes up a bit, and then there's a house on top of it. So you can go through the house, you can go through that passage, you can go from the house to this down there through the stairs or whatever it is, and vice versa. You can also go around the back here. Whoops. I think building stuff like this, nothing is done. A lot of people building, say like Leif, for example, building his Mordheim terrain. A lot of it is sort of measured and based around smart systems. Like if you use set inches when measuring the height of something, okay, so to scale this wall, it's going to be 2 inches up and then 2 inches down, instead of like, oh, that's like 2 3/4 of an inch, because no one was measuring anything. And obviously using systems like that is really smart when it comes to movement, because you don't have to think as much. You just know that a short wall is going to be 1 inch, and then 2 inches, and then 3 inches, and your first floor up is going to be 3 inches up, and whatever. I'm not doing any of that at all, but I'm trying to at least think like, okay, so a regular size miniature base will be able to stand on this stuff. It will be able to pass through here. It will be able to pass through there. A sort of maybe smallish vehicle should be able to pass through a passage here. And just the fact that nothing should be unassailable, because it's really annoying if you're playing a game and say you get to start on this side of the table and you get to get a sniper up here, but there's no way to get up from the other side. Makes things very annoying. And so every hill needs to be able to be climbed from multiple angles, and every building needs to be able to be entered from multiple angles and stuff like that. But what I need to do now is make this thing look like a hill. And I've got a choice between these are cast. That's a lovely sound, isn't it? These are cast little pieces of, rock. This is like the kind of stuff that people use for model railways and stuff. I've also got bits and pieces of cork bark. I also realized that if you've got, whoever's watched the videos on this stuff will know, but if you've got a stone and you just sort of kind of squeeze it into your foam like that, it just looks like a rock. And I've been using a combination of all these things just to get sort of a varied result. But I think for this section here, I wanted to go for a because it's a really sort of visible, it takes up a lot of attention on the board. And so I want to make it look kind of good. So I'm probably going to have something that looks kind of like that, at least on that side. As this is just going to be exactly the same on the other side. It's just going to be like a passage. Paying any sort of, just putting this kind of stuff here is just a waste of materials, because it's not visible. It's not the thing you see when you look at the table. That's just a dark passage, whereas this thing is really going to be very visible and needs more attention. And I need to drink water. Jay Castle says, can't wait to see you paint World War I or World War II models. I mean, for these armies, things are going to have to be rather swift. It's definitely going to have to be some kind of exercise in speed painting. I'm also kind of working on, this is probably going to make lots of annoying sounds. It's fine, right? You can hear me. Like a War Transformed, obviously, it's not as weird as something like Trench Crusade, which is also another weird World War I concept. A War Transformed is a bit softer on the weirdness, but it's still definitely something you can kit bash. And because I can't very much enjoy kit bashing, I want to do that. But it's kind of like, well, I want to kit bash an army and I want to paint an army, but I also want to have an army to play with, not in 5 years' time, but maybe at least maybe in a year. So I think in this case, painting an army will be an exercise in swiftness, which is fine. But I'm really trying more and more to just get things done when it comes to painting. I know I can make small dioramas and paint things well, but like what I've been doing, or what I did with my Age of Sigmar army, putting all that effort into painting an army is a lot of fun. And in the end, it just looks great, but it takes so long before you can actually play with it. And these are games I want to play. So it's almost like, it's like with Infinity, I painted 2 factions, and now I'm like, I'd like to start a third one that I just paint well, and I can play with the other 2 and just have one that I can just paint a mini every now and again to a higher standard than the other ones. And maybe that's a way to go. I don't know. Johan Bergman says, I've started painting the Moonstone starter set. It's a nice sidestep from Stormcast. I need to paint mine as well. So Moonstone is a game that I'm looking forward to trying out as well, with really fun miniatures and fun characters, characterful miniatures. And I bought the starter set when I was at Salute, and I've assembled, I think, all the miniatures, and I need to paint them. I was planning on painting them actually for the possibly next video, or start painting them, but we'll see. I'm supposed to be doing I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, but I should be able to say this. But I should be getting samples of the new P3 paints, and I need something to try them out on. And so I thought maybe I'd try using them to paint some moonstone, because that sort of felt fitting. Blue Fang says Minotaur. Yeah, well, it is kind of this one. It's like a Minotaur, but it's a bison and not a bull, because it's the Wild West, which I thought was kind of cool. Jamie Mayer says exposed smugglers cave network connected to the house. Now you're starting to make things more complex, Jamie. I think just having the lighthouse and some old-fashioned like bridge, because once upon a time you needed to be able to get to the lighthouse. That'll do it, I think. We want to get done. Remember, Jamie? Corey says, Alex, I'm really digging this cool guy yoga instructor area you're in. Is that the shirt you're talking about? Or the hair? Or what I'm saying? I just don't know anymore. Robin says, hell yeah. Can I say that? I can say that. It's my stream. I can swear. Sunday hobby jam time. Exactly. Bark from trees will make great rocks too, says Tina. Yes, indeed. I've got the cork bark. I've also got a big bag somewhere on the floor of pine bark. Is it pine? It's probably pine, whatever. So I've got I might as well, for those of you that haven't seen it, see if I can get this in shot. This is like the other half of the board. And you can't really see, well, you can hardly see me. So this is a hill. What's that smell? Oh, it's the hot glue gun. I'm like, what's on fire? And I don't know if you can see like the elevation, and it's heavy, but it's not super heavy. So it's not a ton of elevation. It's actually probably exactly the same as that thing there. But it's got a nice hill going, and there's your smuggler's cave right there. Can you see that, Jamie? And that's supposed to have like a small stream coming down it. Oh, right here, little waterfall, and this stream continues down onto this side of the board, which is, look, there's the stream. Yeah. We've got a road here with some bridges over it and stuff. And so this hill is mainly cork bark, but also wherever there was gaps in the cork bark, I used aluminium foil to fill those up, which worked out really well too. And then up here, like this, you can't really see it that well. This is like one of these. But this was a ton of cork bark, and it continues over there as well. And I don't have that much left. I'll just pop that down there. Please don't fall over. Okay. And so this is kind of doing the same thing, only smaller. Oops, I'm melting something. This is the look of a confused crafter. Where should I put this thing? I need something to put it on. There we are. Okay. Jake says, I painted 50 US and 50 German 3D printed troops and had good success just base coating and putting an overall wash on. Plus base. They look nice with minimal effort. Yeah, I've sort of, a plan I have is, I did a recipe for a book, which is a sort of, I made a video on it as well, which was a really fun way to paint orcs really fast. The video didn't really do that well, but the books, I think, sold a ton. The principle there was because it was orcs. Well, it wasn't orcs. It was like the hobgoblins or whatever. Was a very simple sort of brown to yellow zenithal prime, sort of, and then a blue oil wash on top of that. And because the yellow and blue makes green, that sort of created a sort of kind of like an army style green, but going from, there was different levels and shades and things happening. It was turned out to be a great sort of, what I thought, really, really fast way to paint orc skin fast. But orc skin could also be, World War One fatigues, kind of brown, greenish clothes. So I probably will go for some kind of a similar approach. Yeah, Bia says the Moonstone minis are great. I painted 7 by now and enjoyed every one of them. I'm looking forward to your take on them. Yeah. I mean, I really want to get started painting them. I just haven't found the right time, I guess, because of my project. Most of them, like this entire table, is not something I started because I thought it would make good videos. I just wanted to make a table. But sometimes, I need just to find the right reason to paint something, because I also need to make videos on them. Jamie says, done. Timeline, deadlines. This must be some kind of Swedish terminology. Yeah. Bluefang says, if I can ever paint you something for Infinity, let me know. Although I'm sure you want all the fun for yourself. Have you painted much Infinity, Blue? I'm guessing you would probably like it. Regarding the bark, Phil says, I buy orchid bark. Yeah, I do that as well, which is probably most often like pine or something, some kind. I don't know the name of the barks in the trees in English. I just know them in Swedish. Mark from Montana asks, are all the Infinity figures metal? That's probably the only thing holding me back from spending even more money on new sets of figures. I actually like the white metal, but pricey, ? Most Infinity miniatures are metal. At least the sort of regular sized one is, when you go up in size, some of them are a bit bigger, and they are now in sort of plastic. probably I think they used to be in resin maybe, and now I know they do them in sort of some kind of injection molded plastic. But most of the stuff is white metal. Jamie says, I've seen people raving about enamel-based primers being really good, robust for metal minis, though more toxic than the average hobby product. I've never had any issues, really, to be honest, with priming metal miniatures. I've been using airbrush primers. I always clean them with isopropyl alcohol before priming. Obviously, like at least without varnish on, when gaming, paint can like get rubbed off easier. But that, in my mind, that doesn't really have anything as much to do with the paint sticking to the metal. It's just that the metal is hard, and like if you drop a plastic mini, it's lighter and like the plastic is softer. Whereas with metal, if you drop it, it's like sharper edges and I don't know. Regardless, I've got plenty of metal miniatures. They all have their paint on. Nothing's rubbed off. I have no issues while painting. Like for me, there's no difference really. I know there is a difference, but I haven't had anything bad happen to my metal miniatures, and I've never had any issues priming them, and I've never had any issues painting them. But maybe I'm fortunate. I don't know. And yes, they go together very well. That's like the only thing I find more annoying with metal miniatures is that you can only glue them together with like regular CA glue or whatever. I like that with plastic miniatures you can use plastic cement and actually, forge, what do you call it, weld the plastic together. And because that does happen if you play like with infinity miniatures and you drop one on the floor, it most probably will go to bits, like the arm flies off, which doesn't happen if you've got a plastic miniature and you've used plastic cement. But you shouldn't be throwing your miniatures on the floor, I guess. John Charles Betts says, took a break from building a 5x4 board. It was supposed to be 4x4, based on an old aquarium backdrop, which provided the basis for the terrain. And I found this going on. Cool. Yeah. I mean, there's not much happening now. It's always very difficult to try and actually do some kind of hobby stuff while streaming, because essentially I'd just be really quiet and people would think I was rude because I wasn't paying attention to what they were saying. And, so there's not actually much crafting going on. Also, it makes a lot of annoying sounds for anyone listening. I did found, however, when doing the other side, that, obviously doing this, I've got another stone as well somewhere in there, like just pressing this in gives this really great texture that looks like rocks. But I realized it was really smart to do it just first before gluing something on, because then next bit you might glue that there, and you might end up with a little gap. And if you textured that gap, then you don't really need to fill it. Whereas if it's just flat cut XPS foam and you want to try and texture that when you've glued in other things on top of it, that's really annoying. So on principle, I just kind of texture stuff first, even if I don't know what's going to happen. Because why not? It probably takes longer. And these rocks that I cast in gypsum, I guess you'd call it if you were Roman. What do you call it? Plaster? I don't know. What's the word in English? Casting? Don't know. It's usually white, but I actually put black paint in it to make it gray, because this stuff does chip, if you accidentally knock something into it while playing games. And so I figured if that happens, it'd be really annoying if I paint it sort of gray and you accidentally oh darn, and you get a little white dot because you chipped the paint away, and this would be white underneath. And so I put black paint in there, resulting in this gray, which means that if you sort of accidentally chip it and you chip off the paint, there's still just gray underneath. It was like, I was smart that day. All my patrons are having a great time without me in the chat, as always. There's like stuff about people are talking infinity. Yeah. What are you saying? Anyway, I know. I guess you can get probably don't know what I'm allowed to say either, but because you're all here and you're very nice, I think there's going to possibly rumors might be that there is a new starter set coming out for Infinity. So anyone who wants to get into Infinity maybe should wait for just a little bit if you want like a starters 2-faction thingy. Maybe, I don't know, haven't seen anything, don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna craft some. Oh wow. Plaster of Paris. Thank you, George and Jamie. That's the one. Oh, and Mark, by the way, Mark from Montana gave me a tip on some really cool miniatures that are actually a little bit larger for like Mark does airplanes and stuff. Is your channel like Mark from Montana as well, Mark? Does like historical stuff. But he gave me a tip of this person who makes miniatures. Historical stuff, but has also got a little side thing going, which is also a bit sort of alternative history, World War One, and there's some sculpts there, like larger. We'd call them whatever. What would we call them? The stuff you always paint, blue fangs, bigger, larger display models, kind of things. And I ordered one, Mark, anyway. I thought it was really cool. you answered me in the email that before I order something, I should talk to you first. But I'd already ordered it because I thought it was really cool. So hopefully something I can paint soon. Hello, Shrek. PMC, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while, but I haven't been streaming in a while either. Hope you're doing well. I've got no logical plan, and I've got no sort of I don't know what I'm doing right now. I just kind of want to get started. I think that's one of the big things with like terrain and dioramas and all these things. Is like there's infinite levels and hours of planning that could take place, or you can just start and go like I'll just glue that. I just glue that in. The smart thing would have been to plan the entire hill, maybe cut it into shape, check that fits, and and a lot of people will probably maybe have that sort of approach, whereas I'm very much I just need to start somewhere and then continue trying to make that work. So if I glue these things in here, then all of a sudden I create, that's a problem. And so then I need to put something there, which probably results in having to do something over here to make that work. And all of a sudden you sort of organically shaping this thing. I know a lot of people just sort of sketch things out, and yeah, it's probably smart, but it just doesn't work for me. It's not sort of how my workflow is. Mine's a lot more just start and solve all the problems you create for yourself, and then voila, 3 years later you have a 6x4 foot gaming table. John Charles says, I can't really watch them build, so kudos for podcasting while building, even if there's the odd hiatus. I couldn't do that. I'm filling up PU foam lumps, which is supposed to be worm fossil deposits. There you go. It is a lovely hobby after all. All right. Also, it's nice with these plaster things is you can sort of break them to bits when they don't fit. It's a pretty annoying sound, right? Uncensored crafting. It's going to be my next channel. So has anyone got anything interesting to say, or is that supposed to be my job? And yeah, by the way, all patrons, please, if you have anything that you think would be a fun monthly challenge, please share. On the Discord as well, if you don't have to share it here if you don't want. It's up to you. Look, we have a rock thingy. Yeah. I wonder where I put my aluminium foil, because last time I did, in instances like this, when you end up with little gaps that you think maybe that should be filled with something a bit more interesting, I used aluminium foil and that worked out pretty well. George says, yes, only chalk is worse than this. Oh, you mean this stuff? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm very much using, in this case, the foam mainly as like filler. The foam is what makes the core of the hill, and in some instances I try and shape it into looking like rock, but a lot of the time I use different things to replicate rock. But in theory, I mean, this stuff is really great for just shaping into something that looks like rock by cutting it, and using different kind of things to press into you can use bark like this and press into it as well, and it kind of looks like rock. So gluing stuff on there isn't really necessary. I just really like the look of these, and it gets me somewhere, instead of just having to stop it. See, that's a nice fit. Instead of just having to stop it, like, okay, I'm going to spend the next 5 hours trying to make something look like natural rock. Someone's already done that for me, and I can keep working. Is that a good idea? Why not? It's perfect. We got some talk in the chat about this month's challenge for patrons. Please consider becoming a patron. I was talking to someone about this recently. I know this kind of talk is boring, because you've got your 1 hour on the Sunday where you can do your crafting, and you want to get some inspiration from friendly YouTubers, and the only thing they do is complain about views and money. We don't, but I have a tendency to sort of go there during live streams. But I think because there's not many situations in videos where we can sort of talk about what our work situation is like, because for many of us who do videos like I do, it sort of becomes a combination of doing your hobby, but you're also getting your income or parts of your income from making videos. And no one really knows how that happens. When you watch a YouTube video, you don't really care. It's just like, wow, here's a video. It was nice. I'll press the like button. But for me, for example, I make about, on an average, $500 a month from releasing 2 videos every month on YouTube. That's what YouTube pays me, $500. It takes me about 2 weeks per video working, like a full-time job to make that video, one of them. So 2 of them is essentially, say I work 80% of my time during a month making those videos, sometimes 120, sometimes less. It depends on how advanced the video is. And for that, YouTube pays $500, which is obviously based on the amount of views on the videos. So if you're a more successful channel with more people watching, then you get paid a bit more. And so that's obviously not going to pay the bills. Like the rent for this place where I create the videos is $500 a month. So we start up things like Patreon and stuff like that to be able to pay the rest of the bills, like the rent and the eating of the food at home. And so from Patreon, I make about $1,000 a month. So my full-time job pays me $1,500 a month, which is not really that much. And so I need to have another job as well, because I have a kid. He eats food. He needs clothes. But it would be great to not, have to think all that much about money. And the best way to solve that problem is through Patreon. And so if you feel that you do have a bit of extra cash to spare, check out your favorite creator's Patreon. Seriously. A lot of you just think that I'm sure it works out anyway, and it does. But if you're like, wow, I really watch this person's videos and they're really nice and I get something out of them, and I'm not saying it has to be me, check out if they have a Patreon and see if it's something you'd like to join, because it's just helps out a lot. Anyway, in the Patreon that exists for 52 miniatures, we have a monthly challenge on the Discord, which is usually like a painting challenge, because all in all, I mainly do paint miniatures. There is terrain building going on, as you can see, but a lot of the stuff is based on miniature painting. And it's not, you can't win anything. It's just sort of an inspirational thing, like, let's try paint something red, or whatever. But after a few years of challenges, my mind is like, well, what the hell are we going to do this month? I don't know. So I like to ask my dear patrons if there's any great ideas or something that people would like to do or try. Then yeah. Look, there's another rock on there. After all that boring talk about giving away your money, we also glued a rock in place. Isn't that fantastic? Tina says you can use papier-mâché to fill the gaps. It's very smart. I can use papier-mâché to fill the gaps. I bought the expensive version of papier-mâché just for the video. I'll get it. Give me a second. I got some of this stuff just because, like, when making videos, I just enjoy trying to give people different ideas of different things to use. It's another reason for why I'm using like texturing with stuff, using aluminium foil, using this stuff, using the bark, whatever, is just to show different that there's tons of different ways of doing things, and you can choose the one you like or the one you're most comfortable with. But I also try and every now and again get the hobby products. So you can buy this, or you can use papier-mâché, or you can use aluminium foil or whatever. But I got this stuff and I haven't used it yet. Which is something I could use as well to like fill gaps and create textures in between the little plastic cast blocks. Hello, Alison. How are you doing? I like the work on your cosplay suit. Tina says, I just made a dragon turtle. That was a fun project. So that might be a challenge for you guys. It's a pretty good. Like visually, I can see how that could work on many levels, making dragon turtles. Hello, Sergeant May. How are you doing? Why is my computer? There we are. That's better. Blue says, anything involving any dragons I would love, but maybe we can do that in November. I'll remember that. Blue. Mark from Montana asks, which Luftkrieg 1919 figure did you order? That was what I was talking about before. I got the lady smoking the cigarette. This has turned out into a nice little hobby Patreon hangout on YouTube. I love it. Justin Rominger asks, honestly, how much does Squarespace offer you? Squarespace pays $400 per video, I think. Allison says, and all the cool kids are in your Patreon. Just saying. Yeah. I'm working my way through the chat here, and I'm trying to kind of skip a lot of the, so because you patrons are doing a great job entertaining yourselves. Blue asks, is that low or average? I have no clue. The Squarespace, I don't know. They're very sort of, they don't care about what type of video you make. It's all based on the amount of views you have. And you if you follow my channel, you know that the views I get is like this. There's no constant amount of views, and they're not very high, and if you've got lots of views, you get paid more, and if you have less views, you get paid less. That's it. The good thing with Squarespace is they don't care what video you make, so you can just do a video on whatever you want and put the ad in there. Whereas, like if you make a video about Infinity for Corvus Belli, then that video has to be on Infinity. So it's nice to have sponsors that are hobby related. I would love to just have, like, some hobby brand is going to sponsor, I don't know, name something, whatever. Red Grass Games will sponsor all my videos just because I use their brushes, and that would be fine. But that kind of stuff doesn't really exist in our niche. A hobby brand will sponsor a video when they want to push something, like a Kickstarter or a new release or something like that. And then you need to be specific and make a video about that specific subject. Whereas these bigger companies like PayPal, I don't do any ads for VPN stuff for reasons I don't know. I just don't like it. NordVPN is one of them, but you'll see that kind of ads, which has nothing to do with the hobby. But that means that the creator can make a video on any hobby project that they want, and still, get some money to pay the bills, because that's not happening through YouTube. Mark says, I'm going to talk to Richard about sending you a squad to review and paint. It would be good publicity for his little business. Yeah, we can talk about that, Mark. I mean, I want to check. I just ordered one and I'll check it out. And if I want to do something more, then I can talk to him. But I don't want to put myself in a position where I need to paint something for him because he sends me free stuff. That just becomes something on my to-do list. I'd rather, now I bought one and paid for it, and hopefully I get to paint it, and if I like it, that's great. And yeah. Alison wonders, so this terrain is going to be a mountain? Well, yes, sort of. This is my table here. The other half of the big wargaming table, and this is where, you remember, I don't know if you remember, Alison, but I wanted a shipwreck, but I've abandoned the idea of a shipwreck, and there is now going to be like all makes sense now, right? And so there's a bit of a hill here, which is like, I guess, it was an island before all the water disappeared. Now it's a hill, and then there's going to be a bit of a gap, like a ravine, and then the hill will continue, but with a building on it, a ruined building. And so, yes, it's a hill, but it's an island, and this thing is going to be on top of it. Yeah, I think it'll be good. Alison, I realized, I was talking about it before, that the original idea for the ship was also that it would be a modular piece that I could remove, and then, but I've decided to just commit to gluing all this stuff in. Also, the ship would be being a hassle to build. Also, when looking at it, I'm building a dedicated table, so I might as well go a bit more bonkers. It was a bit not enough elevation and not enough things going on. So more hills. Mark says, I think some of those figures would work well with the War Transformed if they could be scaled down. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I guess they're cast in resin or something. the ones you get, Mark. And so I guess it's about making molds. I don't know how that works. But one step at a time. It's lovely stuff. And, if I paint it and make a video on it, then we can let him know and everyone will be happy. Alison says, nice, a new patron has entered the Discord. I like it. Welcome, new patron. I haven't seen you yet because I'm busy live streaming to the world. But once I'm not doing that, then I will see you. I'm actually going to... Looks like we've got about 20 minutes left or something like that. And then I'm, obviously in my mind, I was going to like, well, I'll be done. I'll be done with the entire hill during the live stream, which obviously is not the way the world works, but the way my mind works. But I'm meeting up. My friend Carl is coming to my house or apartment later on, and we're going to continue to play some Warcrow. So that'll be a nice sort of evening thing. So I need to go home and make sure the apartment is not can't really remember the state it was left in. And I probably need to make some kind of dinner. But that'll be fun to have a bit of a gaming night. I've made a sort of conscious decision to try and get more gaming in. And so we could pick between Infinity or Warcrow. But as a Sunday, sort of a few hours in the Sunday evening, Warcrow felt like the sensible choice. Whereas Infinity maybe is more of a daytime sort of, we need more than just a couple of hours. Especially since we don't know, Infinity very well. We don't know Warcrow well either, but that had a bit more sort of the starter box that Warcrow came with, the sort of rule set. It's got some really sort of simple missions. You start with the first mission and then you add magic in the second mission and you build, more and more advanced rules, so to speak, the more missions you play. So we got a lot of sort of help in that regard, whereas with Infinity, we're just like, let's just try and learn everything, shall we? Music Mad says, how are you doing? And I hope you're doing okay. Thank you for the great videos. Well, my pleasure, Music Mad. I'm glad you enjoy them. Richard Smith says, hey, dude, gonna make a stone hang inspired battle map for my Arthurian legend theme TTRPG using the Winter King beta release. This is like reading another language. No offense meant. The BBEG is guarding a thing inside a henge. I like it, Richard, but I'm not really sure of what it all means. But it's got something to do with King Arthur. Big Bad Evil Guy. BBEG. Okay, thank you. You must remember that I'm a bit of an old fart. I don't know all the cool words like the young folks do. But I'm still interested in what a stone hang inspired battle map is. Alison says dragon turtles is a great idea, and I agree, Alison. And Blue Fangs wants to be in on that, so we needed to wait until October. So was that right? I think so. So we're doing dragon turtles in October. It's just Tina says, mind what you say, calling yourself an old fart, young man. Looks may deceive. That's all I'm saying. Or magic potions. Richard says, sorry, yeah, I want to make my first battle mat terrain piece, and you're inspiring me with this. I'm glad I'm inspiring you, and I didn't mean anything offensive. I'm just, I hope it works out. I think the worst thing with this is, like, right now, I'm spending time building what would be a pretty cool modular little hill that you can climb up, and all of that. And then I'm going to, glue it down and stick it to something. And if I ever want a nice little modular hill, I'm just going to have to do it all again. But on the other hand, you could say exactly the same thing for miniatures. It's like, I've already painted a miniature once. Do I have to do it again just to play a game? Stonehenge. Okay, great stuff. Thank you for clarifying. Tina's wondering if I should magnetize it. I mean, yes and no. I think I've just come to terms with the fact that I've decided that this is a dedicated table, and I'm just going to live with that. I've also kind of decided that I really want to make modular terrain. I need more houses and stuff for Infinity, and it would be really fun to have more sort of just classical fantasy style modular terrain for, like, Warcrow, for example. And so at some point, all that stuff is just going to have to happen. Nothing I need to rush, but I'm also very potentially inspired about my idea to make a 15mm version of the Silver Bayonet, which is a sort of skirmish style Napoleonic horror game. written by Joseph McCullough, which is the same guy who wrote Stargrave and Frostgrave and stuff like that. And I've always been wanting to do something for Silver Bayonet. It's just not happened. And then I think it was Adrian who started talking about maybe using 15 millimeter Napoleonic, because there's tons of like what we would call epic or small, very small scale Napoleonic miniatures, because the people who play that stuff sometimes have a tendency to want to do it kind of for real. So if there was like 5,000 troops, you want to have 5,000 miniatures. And so turning them into very tiny miniatures is kind of smart, because otherwise you need a really big table to play these things on. And I painted one of them in a recent video, and that was a lot of fun. And so the idea of doing, because essentially you just, I can't remember what was the smartest thing to do, just divide everything by half or something like that. It's just kind of roughly, turning a 28 millimeter, which is almost then 30 millimeter, dividing that by half, it means 15 millimeter. And so just dividing all measurements, like how far you walk or how far something shoots or whatever, just divide it by half, and your game is turned into a 15 millimeter game. And I just thought, building terrain for that would be fun as well, because it's just smaller, and potentially that means faster. But I don't know. It's something I've been looking forward to doing. Hello, Sean. How are you doing? Cup says Dragon Turtles in October. I think it's the plan. Jamie says design is an iterative process, is what you can say when client, people, etc. complain of how slow things seem to be taking. It won't necessarily convince them, but it sounds smart. I need to figure out how to sound smart. That'd be good. Tina says, maybe Gerard, Shifting Lands, and me can come over and build some houses. Just email me, Tina, please, and or DM or PM or whatever it's called, because otherwise my mind is a complex computing engine with several faults in it. One of them is, in 3 days' time, I'll be like, wait, someone said something in that chat that I should have remembered. What was it? Kind of story of my life. So please, if you have the time, just write me. Jamie says, divide by half or change inches to centimeters. Yeah. Adrian says, yeah, that was me. Tiny bayonet. I think inches to centimeters would be an easy conversion. My email address, Tina, is 52miniatures@gmail.com. It's nice and simple. All right. Nice and simple. Exactly. I think I'm going to end it. I need to cook food and I've still got all the miniatures and terrain for Warcraw that I'm going to play with my friend Carl is still scattered around the place. So I need to gather things together, get home so I can play some miniature games, because it's Sunday and it's the new me who's supposed to be playing the games he's talking about. It's been a joy. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out this wonderful Sunday. I'm trying to remember. Did I say all the things I wanted to say? Check out Boyle, Hobby Town's Kickstarter. Check out Dave from Mini Wargaming's new channel. Consider supporting your favorite creator on Patreon, or buy their merch, or both. Remember to enjoy your hobby. It's not all about, obviously we should be completing things, but that's not always the most important thing. The most important thing is that we have a hobby in the first place. And we should be just pretty happy about that fact. And sometimes when you're painting and you should be getting that army done and everyone else is getting their army done, especially all the damn creators on YouTube, or all these fabulous projects of gaming tables, they don't always need to get completed really rapidly. You can work on it for 10 years, and it's about the time that you spent working on it. That kind of matters. And I really need to go pee. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your Sunday. Bye.